Destiny? The name alone conjures images of a man perpetually perched on the edge of sanity, teetering between the abyss of despair and the fiery pits of unbridled rage, had some interesting words for Bernie Sanders supporters.
Destiny fights so hard to protect the status quo. Not an easy job. I give him credit. I wonder what his motivation is. The status quo right now is you sitting on your ass watching a live streamer, okay, while you're either working and collecting money, watching video game streamer, well, not a video game streamer, watching live streamers, or you're at home with the luxury of sitting on a computer watching a live streamer, okay? The status quo has done a lot of good things. That doesn't mean we can't improve on it. Also, heads up, okay? Heads up. Even though I haven't gotten that caliber carbon yet, I still can do the most beautiful neighborhood-wide drive-bys. And you better believe I got a big drive-by here. Just as a heads up, because, okay, we're not going to have this build, all right? I am not a socialist. I am not a communist. If you think I have leanings in that direction, you are dead wrong. I will never be a socialist. I'll never be a communist. You are cringe. Also, as a heads up, if the only thing that you care about, or like the 90% biggest issue that you think is facing the United States right now is just class, I also think you are cringe, and I will never agree with you, and we will always fight with each other, okay? If your interpretation of that is that I think that, oh, billionaires are perfect and should never be taxed, that's not what I've said. I think there should be plenty of taxes for wealthy people. And I think that billionaires can pay taxes. And I've talked about ways that they can pay more taxes. But if your only platform is to just attack billionaires and attack CEOs over and over and over again, you're missing 80% of the conversation that's going on in the United States right now, having to do with culture, having to do with all the weird, like the trans stuff, all the LGBT stuff, the race relations, people who don't even have a coherent idea of what American liberal democracy is. There's a whole bunch of shit that's going on right now that is like swirling in this insane pot of ideas, okay? That's not all just billionaires control everything. If you disagree with me, that's fine, but get the fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about your opinions. I don't want you as fans, and I don't want you to watch my show. Or at the very least, I don't want you commenting on my shoe, okay? Get the fuck. Suck my dick. Just as a heads up, okay? In case you were confused on that.
A man who, despite his best efforts to remain calm, collected, and rational, has found himself once again in the crosshairs of the Bernie or Bust Brigade for the 1000th time. Yes, dear reader, we are about to embark on a thrilling journey into the mind of a man who has just about had it with the discourse. A man who, despite all logic and reason, has found himself in the crosshairs of the socialist purists, the class reductionist left, and the ever-growing legion of keyboard warriors who seem to believe that typing in all caps somehow strengthens their argument. So grab your popcorn, pour yourself a stiff drink, and prepare yourself for a wild ride, because Destiny is not in the mood for your nonsense today. Let's set the scene, shall we? Destiny logs onto his computer, takes a sip of his coffee, and opens Twitter. What does he find? His mentions are in flames. His subreddit is flooded with socialist manifestos written in bad faith, and his YouTube comments are full of people who still haven't figured out how to type in lowercase. It's a digital dumpster fire, and Destiny is standing in the middle of it, holding a can of gasoline and a match. And what does he do? Does he take a deep breath? Meditate? Consider that maybe, just maybe, he should tread lightly. No, he does what Destiny does best. He goes off. This is a man on the edge, a man who has hit his breaking point, a man who is seconds away from telling his entire audience to take a long walk off a short pier. And then, just when you think he might gather himself, he doesn't. He doubles down, he triples down, he quadruples down. He's like a gambler at a high-stakes poker game, except instead of chips, he's betting his sanity, and instead of cards, he's holding a microphone and a platform. And he's all in. The Bernie or Bust Brigade. Where do we even begin with these people? They're like the vegan crossfitters of the political world. You don't even have to ask, they'll tell you. They're the kind of people who will lecture you about the evils of capitalism while sipping on a $7 latte from a locally sourced, fair trade, organic coffee shop. They're the kind of people who will accuse you of being a neoliberal shill for daring to suggest that maybe, just maybe, Bernie Sanders isn't the second coming of Christ. They're the kind of people who will write a 10,000-word manifesto about why you're wrong, only to end it with, "But I'm not mad, though." And Destiny? Oh, Destiny has had it up to here with these people. He's been arguing with them for years, and he's tired. He's tired of the bad faith arguments, the strawmanning, the constant goalpost moving. He's tired of the endless cycle of "you're either with us or against us" rhetoric. He's tired of the fact that no matter how many times he explains his position, no matter how many times he clarifies his arguments, no matter how many times he tries to engage in good faith, they still come at him with the same tired, recycled talking points. And so, when Destiny sees his Twitter mentions flooded with angry Bernie bros, his subreddit overrun with socialist screeds, and his YouTube comments full of people who still haven't figured out how to use punctuation, he does what any rational person would do. He loses his mind. The catalyst for this particular meltdown? Bernie Sanders' State of the Union response to Trump. Now, let's be clear. Destiny isn't attacking Bernie because he hates Bernie. He's not attacking Bernie because he's a secret Republican or a corporate shill or whatever other nonsense the Bernie bros are peddling this week. He's attacking Bernie because he thinks Bernie's response was a missed opportunity. A missed opportunity to connect with voters, to address the cultural issues that matter to people, to actually win the damn election. But of course, the Bernie or Bust Brigade doesn't see it that way. To them, Destiny's critique is nothing short of heresy. How dare he attack Saint Bernie? How dare he suggest that maybe, just maybe, the left needs to do more than just scream about billionaires and wealth redistribution? How dare he point out that the left's obsession with class reductionism is a losing strategy? And so the backlash begins. The tweets, the Reddit posts, the YouTube comments, they all come flooding in, each one more hyperbolic, more outraged, more unhinged than the last. And Destiny, he's not having it. He's not in the mood for your nonsense today. He's not in the mood for your bad faith arguments, your strawmanning, your endless cycle of "you're either with us or against us" rhetoric. He's not in the mood for any of it. The leftist infighting between the economic purists and those who recognize the importance of cultural battles is nothing new. This war has been waged for decades, from the early socialist movements that saw cultural issues as secondary to class struggle to the modern-day left, where progressives and socialists constantly clash over whether billionaires or systemic biases are the bigger issue. Destiny firmly believes that pretending culture doesn't matter is a losing strategy. The average voter isn't sitting at home plotting to overthrow billionaires. They're worried about their communities, their values, and their sense of national identity. The left's refusal to engage in the cultural battlefield has handed victory after victory to the right, who do understand its importance. The left has a habit of speaking in a language that only other leftists understand. They use terms like late-stage capitalism, intersectionality, and praxis, without ever stopping to consider whether the average voter has any idea what they're talking about. They write long, dense manifestos filled with academic jargon and then wonder why no one is reading them. They hold rallies where they chant slogans that sound like they were written by a committee of Marxist theorists, and then wonder why they're not resonating with the working class. This is where Destiny's frustration boils over. He's not arguing that billionaires shouldn't be taxed more. He's not defending corporate greed. He's pointing out that a singular obsession with "eat the rich" rhetoric is both politically ineffective and fundamentally disconnected from what actually motivates voters. The left has been screaming about wealth redistribution for years, and yet they continue to lose key battles. Why? Because while they're busy shaking their fists at Jeff Bezos, conservatives are winning elections by weaponizing cultural narratives that resonate with the average person. Destiny's audience reaction to these takes is always a mix of die-hard supporters nodding in agreement and socialist purists foaming at the mouth. His subreddit turns into a war zone. Some people accuse him of selling out, of becoming a neoliberal shill. Others praise him for saying what many are too afraid to admit, that the left is terrible at messaging, refuses to engage with real voter concerns, and keeps setting itself up for failure. The irony is that Destiny likely aligns with many progressive policies, but his insistence on calling out bad strategy makes him a target for the very people he'd otherwise agree with. At the core of Destiny's argument is the belief that the left needs to evolve or perish. Class issues matter, but so do cultural ones. If the left wants to win, they need to stop pretending that economic grievances alone will mobilize the electorate. They need to meet voters where they are, not where they wish they were. Until then, Destiny will keep ranting, his audience will keep debating, and the cycle will repeat. And honestly, he wouldn't have it any other way. Now, let's take a step back and talk about why Destiny is the hero we need in these troubled times. Destiny is not your typical political commentator. He's not a polished, suit-wearing pundit who speaks in carefully crafted sound bites. He's a streamer, a debater, a professional arguer. He's the kind of guy who will spend hours debating the merits of socialism versus capitalism, only to end the stream by yelling at his chat for spamming emotes. But that's exactly why we need him. Destiny is raw, unfiltered, and unapologetically himself. He doesn't care about playing nice or towing the party line. He doesn't care about making friends or winning popularity contests. He cares about the truth, and he's willing to fight for it, even if it means pissing off half the internet in the process. And that's exactly what he's doing here. He's calling out the left's messaging problem. He's calling out the class reductionist left's refusal to engage with cultural issues. He's calling out the Bernie or Bust Brigade's delusional purity tests. And he's doing it all with a level of passion and intensity that you just don't see from your average streamer or politician.